There's a lot you need to be mindful of as an author signing a book contract. There are clauses that do not serve you, there are clauses that do not protect you, and we break down book contracts here on the platform with everybody's favorite IP and entertainment lawyer, Tony. Today, we're talking about an exclusivity clause that will prohibit you from publishing your books elsewhere without working with that publisher, and that could damage your entire career. Let's have a chat.
My name is Tony Iliakostas. I'm an adjunct professor of entertainment law and IP at New York Law School and have an Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok account called The IP Professor that is dedicated to all things intellectual property.
We talk a lot about book contracts here on the channel. We've talked about red flags, green flags, things to pay attention to, how to work with a lawyer for your book contract. We'll link all of those down below. But we're starting to see more and more conversations of a teeny tiny clause being added to some book contracts that should make us very, very wary. These are called exclusivity clauses, and they prevent authors from publishing their books in the future without that publisher. Tony, let's talk about the legal side of this.
Yeah, exclusivity clauses are really, really, really dangerous clauses to have in any contract, not even specific to publishing agreements. They just are a landmine of trouble that is just waiting for anyone that agrees to those terms. So for anyone that doesn't know, what is an exclusivity term? Cam alluded to it, but essentially, when you work with, let's say in this case, a publisher, you are basically confined to working with that specific entity and only that entity. That means you cannot, in a free marketplace, shop around with another publisher, whether it's small or big. You can't even do any self-publishing. You are, for lack of a better word, shackled to that contract with that specific publisher. Now, I will say this, there are some exclusivity contracts or exclusivity terms that could be functional. And I guess the operative word there is could, so long as there's a term attached to it. And sometimes these are what are called embargo periods. Mm-hmm. So exclusivity contracts could have terms where, let's say, the author has an exclusive partnership with that publisher for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. And after that exclusivity deal, then maybe it automatically transitions into a non-exclusive contract between the publisher and the author. Now, if it's that type of exclusivity deal, I feel more comfortable with something like that, because at least you have that state of mind and comfort knowing that it's not going to be exclusive in perpetuity. But if you have that type of exclusivity clause where it is in perpetuity, that is lethally dangerous, because now you are literally assassinating any chance of having the chance to take your book elsewhere to another publisher and, again, shop around in a free marketplace. Essentially, you cannot do that. So I caution any author that works with a publisher that wants an exclusive deal in perpetuity. I think that is not a wise and sound business decision to make. Certainly not a wise legal decision to make, but definitely a wise business decision, especially because odds are you're not getting a good monetary compensation out of that exclusivity deal. If you're signing an exclusive in perpetuity deal with a publisher with an upfront cost of, let's say, 10 grand for your draft of a manuscript, and then on the back end, once you deliver a final draft, it's another 10 grand or something like that. You literally sign an in perpetuity deal for $20,000. It then begs to ask the question, was it worth it? I think that you're better off signing an exclusive deal for a limited term if the monetary amount is good. Like, I'm talking like 6 figures good. I just don't think that having that type of strict, confined type of term is wise. So that said, probably the next question that's popping up in your head if you're listening is, I signed one of those exclusive deals in perpetuity. What can I do as the author? My advice is to now go to a lawyer and see what can be done from a settlement negotiation point of view. There is a world where a publisher will just stick to their chops and say, there's something that can be done. You're stuck with this, end of story, move on. But if you do work with a publishing lawyer who maybe has experience in arbitrations and settlements and things of that sort, they may be able to work with the publisher and say, look, they didn't contemplate the severity of signing an exclusive deal. They didn't contemplate or understand what it meant when the term in perpetuity was included there. They didn't understand the legal gravity of a term of this nature. Why don't we negotiate some type of buyout, if you will? seeing if maybe that could be a remedy in the future is very possible, but that's not necessarily a guarantee that you can get out of an exclusive deal with a publisher. So there is a world, or there is a chance where you could navigate some type of resolution and get out of it, but I can't in good conscience say that that's going to be a guarantee way of getting out of these types of contracts. They're so difficult to get out of. They already are strict enough as it is. It's not worth, I can't sit here and say that this is the foolproof way that it's going to happen, because that's just not how the law works. There's a lot of fluidity to it, and how one publisher feels isn't necessarily how another publisher is going to feel. So if you're ever in that pickle, work with a lawyer, try to navigate it. But if you have not signed an exclusive deal, good. Don't. And if you do, make sure that there's a term attached to it that then converts into a non-exclusive deal, but only agree to a term that is minimal in nature. So we're talking months, maybe max a couple of years, but that is it. Do not sign your soul away to a publisher and prevent the chance of shopping your books to other publishers in a free marketplace.
And to be clear, an exclusivity clause is a little bit different than the right of first refusal. Oftentimes we will see in a book contract, they will say the next book in your series, they have the first right to refuse that. Sometimes they request your next series or your next standalone to go to them first to be refused, but that is different than an exclusivity clause. If you'd like to have a conversation about that, let us know. We'll come back. We'll do more videos on this. And as always, if you have questions on the legal side of the publishing industry, we want to get that answered for you. Tony's coming back for upcoming episodes, so drop those down below. We've got a full playlist with Tony and lots of advice and helpful tips and tricks on the legal side of entrepreneurship in the publishing space. So we want to make sure we're getting your questions answered. Drop them below. And as always, you can reach out to Tony on his social media. Tony, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at the IP Professor, and you can check out my entertainment law podcast called Unseen. New episodes drop every Friday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Drop your questions in the publishing industry down below. Tony is coming back to answer more of the legal side, but I'm a multi-time best-selling author. I've been doing this for many, many years, and I have been helping authors since well before my career as a writer began. I want to make sure that you are safe and protected in this space and making this your most profitable year ever with the smart decisions you're making and the time-saving hacks you need to market what you're doing so that you have more time in your life to enjoy the things that you want to do while also writing and publishing your novels. So drop the question down below. Watch for the daily videos helping you navigate from writing to publishing to marketing and get those questions in. So we'll see you in the next episode.